and the guilt we hide after each fight is sure to be.
What's up guys, Jay Sway here. Welcome back to the dorm room. I wanted to talk about EQ today in Logic. What I have pulled up here is a song that we were working on previously, but I've simplified it down to 3 tracks so that we don't have any crashing going on or stuff like that. So it sounds like this.
Boy, make it work, whisper in my ear, take it for a ride and I might let you steer.
So I'm going to pull up Logic's parametric EQ on the vocal just to talk about it a little bit. I think the most useful tool in here is this analyzer function. It'll show you in the frequency domain what frequencies are actually being voiced on your track as it plays in real time. So it'll look like this as you play through.
Boy, make it work, whisper in my ear, take it for a ride and I might let you steer.
So I feel like seeing where these frequencies lie is a lot easier, and it takes a lot of guesswork out of trying to just, go through here and cut or boost as you please. So it's really helpful also if you're a beginner and you're not sure where sounds of like boxiness or muddiness might lie. I mean, those are really subjective terms, but people use them. I use them. Another technique that I found to be really helpful is that I'll boost to try to find problematic frequencies, and I'll scan like such across the whole frequency domain until I find a problematic frequency, and then I'll cut it as much as I feel necessary. Another thing that I've noticed is that EQ cuts sound more natural to me than boosting, so I'll generally try to stick to EQ cuts. If I have to boost, then I have to boost, but cutting is the way to go for me. Anyway, something a little bit more advanced I wanted to talk about was with Voxengo's plugin Gliss, which is actually dynamic EQ. So I'm going to insert them, or one instance of Gliss on each of these 3 channels by selecting all of them in the mixer and then opening it up. And that, oh, not elephant, my bad. There we go. Now, I'm going to open up the vocal one, and I'm going to name it vocals here, and you'll see why in a second. And I'm going to export this spectrum. It will actually export the analyzer data like we saw for Logic to these channels that are going to be talking back and forth between these Gliss plugins on different channel strips. Kind of like a side chain, but not really. Anyway, we'll do the same thing for the synth. We'll call it synth, and we'll put it on the second channel because it's on the second channel. And finally, for the hi-hats, we'll call it hats, and we'll export it to the third one. And now I'm going to go back to the vocal one and import here from the synth part and the hat part. So basically what we're doing here is we're saying I want to put an EQ on the vocal, and I want to see the analyzer just like we saw the Logic's parametric EQ analyzer for that, but I want to know how it fits with the synth and the hat parts. So we're going to see actually 3 analyzer curves. The green one will be the vocal, which is what our EQ will be changing. The blue one will be the synths, and the pink one will be the hats. So it'll look like this.
Boy, make it work, whisper in my ear, take it for a ride and I might let you steer.
So I've paused in time a snapshot of how this basically looks, and as you can see in the mid-range we have primarily the synth. The blue line right here is the synth, and also the pink is only really dominant in the treble frequencies, which makes sense. I mean, you think of hi-hats as being treble, and you also notice that the vocal is just kind of in between these. And there's also this little nook here created by the hats and the synth where the vocal is just peeking through. And it should be noted that this band here between 2 and 3 and 4 kilohertz is actually really sensitive to the human ear. And whatever you put in this band is going to be up front in the mix. It's going to sound very present. And the reason I put the vocal there is because you want to understand what the vocalist is saying. You want to have the listener's attention on that part. So it's not by accident that there's a little dip here in the hats and the synth. I had already processed these tracks before, and I had cut a wide band here of the synth and the hats, and I had compressed the vocal to stay within that range. And like I said before, that you don't have to do this on individual tracks. You could do this on buses of groups of instruments. Say you have like a wall of 8 guitars being bussed together. You could mix that with your bass and your drums just as easily, assigning one instance of Gliss to each bus. So I mean, this is a really powerful tool in mixing, and you can see where things might be fighting across the frequency domain, and it'll really help you take the guesswork out of trying to EQ things. So I hope that helps. I'm going to talk about compression next time. I mean, it's kind of a controversial topic, but I will try to talk about it a little bit. And I really hope this helped, because to me this is really cool that you can actually see frequencies like this together and underlay and overlay them. It really helps me personally. Hopefully, if you didn't know how to do this, great, and if you can appreciate it, even better. So I'll invite you back next time, and we'll go over some compression. So I'll see you guys later.
Don't leave.